Imagine you are standing on a vast windy steppe in the year 1500 before Christ. From afar, a chariot pulled by mighty horses is rushing to the front lines at terrifying speed, carrying majestic warriors. Blinding dust rolls up under the horse hooves. We always know that horses are associated with war and absolute power. The appearance of chariots and cavalry changed everything. But there is an incredibly amazing paradox. In the very beginning, the horse was absolutely not the companion of the tribes as we still think. So why did horses, a seemingly ordinary wild creature, completely change the destiny of all humanity? Before we explore this secret together, if you find the topic interesting, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to support us. Let us travel back in time to the Paleolithic era. When our ancestors left Africa, they had to learn to adapt to the freezing steppes, where herds of wild horses freely roamed. Initially, to humans, horses were simply a lucrative prey. They used bows and arrows to hunt horses for meat, used their hides to keep warm, and took their bones to make craft tools. However, the pressure of survival weighed increasingly heavier. Humans needed to travel farther, run away from predators faster, and carry heavier belongings. It was from those survival desires that the idea of utilizing the power of horses began to sprout. The domestication process happened step by step. Humans began rounding up and nurturing horses. Initially, perhaps they only took milk and meat. But then, creativity spoke up. They invented reins and primitive saddles. Humans realized a great truth. This creature could pull carts and transport goods at a speed many times faster than bare feet or dugout canoes. This created a chain reaction. Having horses, humans built chariots. From chariots, they built mighty cavalry units. And finally, the horse officially became a living engine, bringing human civilization into a completely new era of power. The scientific evidence for this process is incredibly convincing. Archaeologically, at the Botai culture in Central Asia, around 3,700 to 3,000 years before Christ, people found clay pots still bearing traces of horse milk, proving humans bred them for milk. At archaeological sites in Europe and Mongolia, people found horses solemnly buried alongside warriors. Genetically, ancient DNA studies reveal that the ancestors of modern horses originated from the Caucasus Plateau region around 2,200 years before Christ. Over 90% of horses today carry this bloodline. Even more surprisingly, selection altered the genome, helping the horseback become sturdier and their temperament gentler to serve as riding animals. Regarding texts, records in Egypt and Mesopotamia around 1,600 years before Christ, or the Homeric epics 800 years before Christ, are all filled with images of fiery horse-drawn chariots. But this is the strangest part. The very tribes in Eastern Europe that became very famous later on did not use horses as a means of transport in their great migrations 3,000 years before Christ. At that time, they only considered horses as herds of livestock for milking and eating meat. The true explosion of the horse only happened 1,000 years later, when wheeled vehicles and cavalry forces officially ran rampant. When horses were utilized to the fullest, they changed the scale of the entire world. From the express armies of the Mongol Empire sweeping across Central Asia, to the Roman light cavalry warriors dominating Europe. Thanks to horses, merchants on the Silk Road could transport goods at breakneck speeds, boosting unprecedented trade. Horses became deeply ingrained in culture, from the belief in worshipping horse gods on the steppes to the symbol of brave knights in the Middle Ages. Up until today, even though machines have taken over, the image of the horse always remains an eternal symbol of freedom and ultimate power. So, in summary, why did horses change history? The answer is very brief. Because this animal granted humans immense power and speed. They expanded the survival space, creating an extraordinary revolution in trade and war. The horse was indeed the first engine machine of human history. Now, let us return to the warrior standing on the windy steppe 1,500 years before Christ. The mighty warrior on the chariot back then probably could never have imagined that. The creature galloping under his feet was the very foundation to build the most brilliant empires of humanity. Finally, there is a reflection for you. The most powerful weapon of humanity turns out to be exactly what nature bestowed. The horse, from a wild animal, transformed into a great ally, causing all of history to shift. Perhaps the bigger question we need to ask today is, what next natural power will be conquered by humans to write a new great chapter for the future?